We end tonight with the clearest pictures yet of Neptune, the most distant planet in our solar system.
It started with a silence, the kind that hangs over the vast outer rim of our solar system, where light takes hours to arrive and sound has nowhere to go. For most of us, Neptune was just a name in a textbook, a cold blue dot lost in the far reaches of the void. We grew up thinking it was settled, a frozen giant, quiet and predictable, drifting peacefully at the edge of what we could see. But then came the James Webb Space Telescope, and what it saw when it turned toward Neptune shattered that illusion forever. This wasn't supposed to happen. Webb was built to stare outward, to catch the faint glow of galaxies born at the beginning of time, not to cast its gaze back toward our own celestial backyard. But when it did, what it captured wasn't just a better picture, it was a revelation, and not the comforting kind. Neptune, long thought to be understood, revealed itself to be something wild, something restless, something alive. The images came first, ethereal, delicate, but piercing, as if the veil of space had lifted and let us see the truth for the first time. Gone was the smooth blue ball we'd all come to expect. In its place, a world torn by storms, fractured by temperature, and glowing from within with a heat no one could explain. There was no warning, no slow drip of clues, just a sudden, brutal clarity. Neptune wasn't what we thought, not even close. The first thing scientists noticed was the warmth, not the kind you feel from sunlight, but something deeper, heat radiating from within Neptune itself, pulsing through its atmosphere in chaotic, uneven patches. That shouldn't be possible, not out there, where sunlight is a distant memory. And yet there it was, undeniable, disturbing. Parts of Neptune's upper atmosphere were unexpectedly warm, as if lit by invisible fires that no model had ever accounted for. Some called it an anomaly, others a sign. But it didn't stop there. Methane, the gas responsible for Neptune's deep azure glow, was behaving strangely. In some places it gathered thick and heavy, in others it thinned out unexpectedly. This wasn't the neat, symmetrical distribution everyone had assumed. This was chaos. It was as if something, or someone, had stirred Neptune's atmosphere like a pot. And whatever patterns emerged were not from natural order, but something hidden, something unresolved. Scientists scrambled. The models they'd trusted for decades no longer fit. They ran simulations. They recalculated. And the more they tried to force Neptune back into the box it had always lived in, the more the planet seemed to resist. Webb's gaze cut deeper, penetrating into Neptune's interior, where the structure of the planet itself started to come undone. It wasn't layered like textbooks claimed. Not a neat descent from cloud to mantle to core. It was turbulent, uneven, shifting. There were whispers then of superionic ice, a bizarre form of water that exists under crushing pressure and behaves like a metal, conducting electricity through a kind of frozen chaos. For years it had only been a theory, a strange footnote in obscure papers. But now it might be real, and not locked away in Neptune's heart as once believed, but scattered through vast pockets of volatile material, twisting and turning beneath the clouds. And if that's true, then everything we thought we knew about how planets form, how they age, how they live, might be wrong. The magnetic field, once an afterthought, suddenly took center stage. Neptune's field has always been odd, tilted far from the planet's axis, jagged and skewed. But Webb revealed something far worse. The field wasn't just strange, it was unstable, surging, dipping, pulsing, like it was alive or fighting something within. These weren't the quiet rhythms of a dying world. These were the symptoms of something changing, something unpredictable. And in the midst of this unraveling, in the eye of the storm, sat a question that refused to go away. What is Neptune? Not what we were told, not what we thought, but what truly are we looking at? It wasn't just the planet that unnerved scientists. It was what orbited it. Triton, Neptune's largest moon, had always been a mystery, a renegade with a backwards orbit, a surface that shimmered with frozen nitrogen, and a volcanic past that whispered of something still stirring beneath. But when the James Webb Telescope turned its gaze to Triton, what it found was more than strange. It was unsettling. There were chemicals on its surface, compounds that didn't match anything scientists had cataloged in the outer solar system. Not carbon dioxide, not methane, not water ice as we understand it. These were spectral ghosts, fingerprints of something unfamiliar, maybe even unearthly. Were they remnants of ancient impacts, exotic reactions happening beneath its icy shell, or something even stranger? What if Triton wasn't just a moon? What if it was something caught in Neptune's gravity? Not just physically, but chemically, magnetically, almost like a conversation between two celestial bodies. Webb picked up traces of possible interactions between Neptune's magnetic field and Triton's surface. Not just passive exposure, but something more active, more volatile. Materials seemed to be moving, perhaps even being exchanged. Suddenly, the idea of a quiet moon orbiting a quiet planet began to crack. Maybe this wasn't a planet-moon system at all. Maybe this was a binary relationship. Two ancient bodies locked in a dance of destruction and rebirth we were never supposed to see. Then came the rings. Most people don't even know Neptune has them. They're faint, almost invisible from Earth. Wisps of dust and ice circling like smoke in the dark. But Webb saw them in stunning detail, and what it found didn't make sense. The rings weren't uniform. They weren't still. There were gaps where none should exist, clusters where gravity should have smoothed them out, and strange arcs of material that defied orbital mechanics. Something was moving through the rings. Something was shaping them. At first, scientists pointed to moonlets, tiny hidden satellites that might be shepherding the rings like sheepdogs in the void. But Webb's imagery was too clear. There were no obvious culprits, no visible bodies to explain the disturbances. Just movement, just patterns that shouldn't be there. It was like watching wind move across a desert and not knowing where the wind came from. And that's when fear crept in. Not fear of danger, not yet, but fear of misunderstanding. Fear that everything we thought we knew about planetary systems, about the way solar systems form and behave, was based on shadows. Neptune was supposed to be a quiet, frozen relic, a blueprint. But Webb had shown us a world that refused to sit still, a world that radiated heat in defiance of its distance from the sun, a world with a broken magnetic heart and a moon that might be whispering secrets through layers of ice and silence. The energy Webb detected didn't just break models, it shattered them. Neptune is farther from the sun than Uranus, yet it glows with more internal heat. For decades, this discrepancy was chalked up to guesswork. Maybe residual heat from formation, maybe some radioactive decay. But now there are spikes, fluctuations, bursts of energy where none should be. The kind of energy that hints at internal processes we haven't even imagined yet. The kind of energy that rewrites textbooks. Could something be happening beneath Neptune's clouds? Some fusion-like process? Some unknown form of energy release that we've never seen? Or is it something simpler, but more haunting, that we've been wrong all along? That everything we modeled, everything we assumed, was based on incomplete data? That Neptune never fit the mold, and we simply didn't look closely enough to see it? The questions pile up, and each one is heavier than the last. If we were wrong about Neptune, what else are we wrong about? It's strange how a single discovery can make everything else feel unsteady. One planet, cloaked in blue, quietly orbiting in the farthest corners of our solar system, just changed the way we think about everything. Because this isn't just about Neptune anymore. This is about the stories we've told ourselves. The illusion of certainty, the fragile scaffolding of theories we once believed were unshakable. The James Webb Telescope was supposed to look outward, to light from galaxies so far away they barely exist anymore. But when it turned inward, it revealed something even more profound, that the mysteries we seek in the stars aren't always distant. Sometimes they're right here, just beyond the orbit of what we thought we understood. Neptune was never meant to be the rebel, never meant to be the question mark. And yet here it is, unruly, unpredictable, burning with unknown energy, wrapped in secrets no one thought to ask. What does it mean if Neptune didn't form where it is now? If it was born in a different cradle of the solar system and thrown outward by some early gravitational chaos, an exile wandering a strange orbit ever since? And what if the traits we thought defined an ice giant, that calm, cold stability, were never real to begin with? What if Neptune isn't the exception, but the first glimpse of a truth we've refused to see? The shock waves are spreading fast. Old research is being questioned. Classifications are crumbling. Scientists, once certain in their fields, are now quiet in meetings, rewriting papers with shaky hands. Not because Neptune betrayed them, but because it reminded them that nature doesn't follow rules written by humans. It never has. And that realization stings because we want the universe to be neat. We want planets to behave, to fit categories, to be solved. But Neptune won't let us do that. It spins in the dark like a riddle, its storms howling louder than our equations can handle. Its magnetic field pulses like a heartbeat out of rhythm. Its moon whispers of impossible chemistry. Its rings shimmer with movements we can't trace. And underneath it all, something is humming, something ancient, something unknown. And maybe that's the most powerful thing Webb has shown us. Not just that we were wrong, but that we still are. That even in our most advanced age, with the most powerful telescope we've ever built, we are still students of the cosmos, still guessing, still blinking into the dark, hoping for clarity. It's humbling, terrifying, beautiful. Neptune has gone from a forgotten world to a mirror, one that reflects back all the arrogance we wrapped in certainty. And now that mirror is cracked. Now we see the jagged lines, the gaps, the wonder. So what do we do with this new Neptune? Do we retreat? Do we reclassify it, tame it with new terms, push it into another box? Or do we let it challenge us? Do we allow ourselves to admit we don't know and begin again, this time with awe instead of assumption? Because this story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. The James Webb Telescope is still watching, still collecting, still listening. And Neptune, it hasn't stopped speaking. Its secrets are still unraveling, still rising like heat through the clouds, still waiting for someone brave enough to listen without trying to explain it all away. And maybe that's what science needs more of. Not more answers, but more willingness to be surprised, to be wrong, to feel wonder again. Because sometimes the greatest discoveries don't come from reaching farther. They come from daring to look closer. Neptune was never silent. We just never listened. And now, we can't unhear it.